This is the Hook Better Leads podcast, and today I'm joined by Michelle and Doug Myers from Pink Collars. How you guys doing?
Hey there.
Doing great, Tim. Thanks for having
you.
us.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on. And today we're talking about how to better qualify customers over the phone. And we know that these guys have some amazing methods, including we're going to go deep into the Shin-Fu Method by what's the gentleman's name is the original creator of this?
Steve Shinholzer.
Steve Shinholzer. And the Facebook group is what again?
The
Contractor Sales Academy.
Contractor Sales
Awesome. And talk to me a little bit about the problem that better qualifying customers over the phone solves. So what is it that contractors, home services companies, what is it they go through that makes this really, really important?
Well, understanding that, not every lead is the same kind of lead, and they're all important, but being able to establish a good pathway into what's a cold lead, a warm lead, a hot lead is one part of it. And the Shin-Fu really helps the contractor understand how to qualify that lead and really have a great understanding of what the customer's needs are to be able to move them in the right direction that they need with the services that they offer.
Yeah, that's good.
What would you say, Michelle, we talked about a little bit about the stages of a business. So can you talk to me about those stages that people go through and when they might need a lot of work on this?
Need some help? Absolutely. Well, home service business owners are really good at doing the thing. Generally speaking, right? They got into the business to turn the wrench, solve the problem, serve the customer in some way. And it's interesting because it starts out by them doing that thing in their business, in their service area, in their community. But very quickly, they start running into the first problem, which is they can't do it all, right? They need somebody to help them. And generally, it's either another person within the trades that they need to hire, or an admin, or somebody to help support the customer service portion of their company. And we find that that's kind of stage 2. You need to add people into your business. It's not just you and your tools and your trade, but it's actually you and a person or maybe 2 people that are going to help you to get to that next level. And then we find that you reach another point in pain once you get a lot of people, that you actually get to stage 3 and you really need to manage the business of your company, right? The numbers, the financials, the pricing, the structure, all of this stuff. And we just know, we've seen that at every stage in your business, there are companies out there like ours, like yours, that can help guys get more leads in the door, contact, take care of customer service. And then there are coaching platforms and awesome groups out there that can help them with the business aspects. So at each of those pain points, we find that there's some place for us to help out in some way.
The other word we like to use at each of those pain points is bottleneck.
Yeah.
A lot of people get into a bottleneck. That first one is, well, I'm growing this business. I've got to do everything myself. I've got to do the thing. And then as you get better at the thing, the customer service is that part that comes along behind it that they don't prepare for. My phones are ringing more because I do the thing better and more people are talking about me more. And then it becomes sort of reactionary and they create this bottleneck where everything depends on them.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is be able to help people loosen that bottleneck and allow the flow of the river, being the business, to flow much faster and stronger.
Awesome. I love it. And that's so important. I see it all the time. So let's get into the nitty gritty of how to better qualify customers over the phone. Share with me what the Shin-Fu method is. What's the process around this?
Well, what it starts with is really empathetic listening and understanding the keywords and the hints that the customer is giving you, right? The customer is telling you all throughout that very first interaction, whether it's an email or a form on your website or a phone call, they're telling you the problem, right? They're coming to you with a problem to solve. And so listening empathetically is the very first part of how you get an understanding of what that problem really is to that person. And reflecting back on the words that they use, taking really good notes, making sure you're understanding the exact pain point for that person, or the point of pleasure. What is the goal that they're working towards?
Yeah. People call for one of two reasons. It really boils down to that. Is it a pain for them or a pleasure for them? A pain could be, hey, I've got a leaky hot water heater. I need you to come fix. The pleasure could be, I spend more time at home now and I'd like my outdoor patio to look a lot better. Or I'd like a water feature or something like that. So really being able to identify how that lead is coming in. Is it a pain or a pleasure to this consumer? And then walking them down the path from there. The next step is identifying who are the decision makers in the process. Typically, what we hear and what we find is if it's a home-based sort of project, a lot of times the wife is the one placing the call. It's a very intimate, for lack of a better word, process. You're inviting someone to come into your home and take care of it. So they really care about it. And they want to make sure that you're respecting their property, their time, and the project that they're asking you to do. So understanding who the decision makers are. Is it all on just her? Is it a husband and wife team, a partnership team that are making this decision together? Getting both of them involved on that call as well to make sure everyone's on the same page.
I love the picture part of Shin-Fu. Shin-Fu asks the customer, the homeowner, to send in images of the project, things that they like out there in the world, maybe on Pinterest, something that they're inspired by, or pictures of the existing product or process or project that's a mess, the existing bathroom or kitchen or backyard. And so it gives the contractor a really good understanding of whether they're talking the same language, whether they're in the same ballpark for pricing. It really kind of hones down a lot of that mismatch of a customer to a service provider. Especially in the contracting side, because as you know, you can build pretty much anything. Price is really the object that you have to get around. So talking about money is the next thing.
Qualifying, what's the budget look like? We've all heard the old adage about having champagne taste on a beer budget. Being able to understand that. Do you have a $5,000 budget when it comes to this? Or do you have a $50,000 budget? Asking those questions and qualifying that up front helps the service provider really be able to identify, okay, what am I going to be able to give? And what's the expectation that homeowner has in relation to this project? Finding out what the timeline looks like. Yeah. There's a lot of people that, unless you ask, you don't know. But the timeline may be, I need this done right now. It's a crucial burning thing that has to happen. Or, hey, I could wait 6 months. I'm just in the exploratory phase and just getting some information. So being clear and upfront and asking that can also help that provider, that service provider, manage his schedule a little bit better as well.
Well, I guess I have a question that could talk about timeline and price here, but I just want to say, like, with price and timeline, how far off can a customer be and still be worth salvaging? Like, if that kind of project normally takes $30,000 and they say they've got a budget of 20, when is it appropriate? Or same with timeline, if they say they want it done in 3 months and we're 5 months out right now, are those deal breakers, or where do you try to salvage it and where do you just let them down easy?
Well, we note all of that in the CRM of the contractor's choice. So we really get all of that data in front of the business owner before they make the initial phone call to the person.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And then they get to walk into the conversation with all of the data that they need. They get to make the decision, okay, can I move this certain schedule around to accommodate this new customer? Or can I move on my pricing a little bit to accommodate this new customer? And that's really going to be up to the business owner. But the best thing about what we do to help them is walk them into that conversation with all the information that they need so that they're fully prepared to make a decision based on the data. And that's really the pre-qualification that helps us be a gatekeeper for their business.
and walking into that conversation or that meeting or consultation, whatever you want to call it, with the homeowner, knowing that, okay, maybe their budget's at 20 and I'm thinking this project may be 30, it really eases that conversation into saying, okay, maybe we can look at a different type of product or material that we're going to use to lessen this price and get close. So it really opens up a pathway to negotiation as well. So everything doesn't have to be a hard no, no, we can't do it because you can't afford it kind of question. Maybe it's just an opportunity to talk about it. And that's what we want to be able to give them the data to be able to base that conversation on.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to zoom out for a second and talk more generally about you guys. I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes of that method first. I'd love to hear a little bit more of just about your guys' story and what got you into this. This seems like a hard job from my point of view. Like, customer service is not my strong suit. I love customers, but like, it's a lot. So first, just love to hear about how you guys got into this. And what started this business.
He tells a good story, so I'll let him go.
We sort of backed into it in a way. Okay. So it all started a dozen years or so ago. Michelle started the original business. She had nothing to do with this world, knew nothing about the virtual world, office administration, anything like that. She was a corporate interior designer by education, by trade. She designed big high-rise office buildings. And when the crash in the economy happened back in 08, 09, she walked into work one day and they said, thank you for your service, but you're no longer needed. So she lost a big corporate office and a big corporate staff and a big corporate salary and all the stuff that goes along with the corporate world. And she walked home that night, or went home that night, sat down at her table, looked at her two young kids. This was pre me in her life as well, and said, you know, I want to create something. I don't know what, but I don't want to put my kids in daycare, and I don't want to, the trappings of the corporate world sort of encompassed her life at that time, you know, 70 hours worth of work and, you know, board meetings and traffic and all that stuff. So she had moved out to Colorado. Her sister lived out there, ran a small business, and said, come on out, get on your feet out here, figure out what you want to do. If you remember at that time, it was hard to find work. There wasn't anybody really hiring because the economy was in such a bad state. And she answered an ad on Craigslist for a little tree service company that needed help answering their phones. So she got involved with them. This was pre-cloud software as well. So old laptop, disk in the side, you know, really the antique way of doing things. But she helped them start to grow their business in the right direction. She got the opportunity to come back to Virginia where she was living. And these folks were the ones that sort of planted the seed. They said, you can't leave us. You can't break up with us. We love you. And if you have to go, take this phone and take this laptop with you and go run our business from Virginia. So they planted the seed. So she did that for quite a few years. Software companies started hearing about this and they're like, wait a second, how do you do this? And had the opportunity to share with them. And they said, well, we have hundreds of clients that need exactly what you do. And that really started the ball rolling. She and I then met after some life-changing events in 2013. And I looked at her and I said, what do you do for a living? And I had a corporate job. I knew nothing about this world either. I looked at her and I said, well, I can really relate to this. I know exactly what you're doing. And she took a big chance on me, took a big chance on us growing this company. And we've been like a rocket ship ever since. So it's been really fun. A lot of people look at us like, you're married, you live together, you work together constantly. How do you survive? What helped us is really establishing our own lanes right from the very beginning, and knowing what we're good at.
Yep.
What do you say?
That's all good stuff. I just created a business and a job that I needed for myself. I mean, it's fully transparent. I was pretty self-centered about this is what I need. I need to create this.
Yeah.
And then when it started to work, I wanted to share it with others. So our why is really to provide an at-home work opportunity for people that want to do customer care. And we find that there's a lot of awesome people out there that we can find and employ.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that.
great
And you
skill.
guys basically like vet that talent and get that like prepped, and they carry out some of these methodologies and the stuff that you guys have learned.
Absolutely.
How much, just a random question before we get into the results, how much time does it usually take to train up a new person to do the phones for you guys?
A new CSR takes about 2 weeks of training, 2 solid weeks of training. We train them on a specific CRM. If they're going to be in a specific vertical like plumbing or electrical or general contracting, we want to get them knowledgeable about some of the language, some of the understanding. So there's a deeper level of training for our staff because we really do customize that experience for our customers.
All right, so let's talk about this result. I want to paint the picture for these contractors that are listening to this right now. Some of the things you've seen, and what is the result that they want? Like what does the promised land look like for somebody that better qualifies customers over the phone? What are some of those results that we want to see?
I'll go first. I always have to say this word first, and it's freedom. Everyone's looking for freedom. And I know I talk to hundreds of contractors, and a lot of the chasing that they feel like they have to do really puts them in a bind. Oh, I've got to go see another customer that could turn out to be a dead lead. And having our help, giving them that qualification up front, energizes them and gives them the freedom that they're looking for, because they know they're a lot closer to selling a job with that help from the upfront.
I think one of the other things we bring is just really good customer service, and being that person, that guy or that gal in your team, in your service area or your community is really important. And you want to be that person, especially in the trades right now. People really want referrals. They want to know that another person in the trades is a trustworthy individual, is a good, person in business. And so
it's going to be nice on the phone when they refer them.
But then they've also just got to be connected to the community in some way, right? I mean, we all are craving connection. I think if COVID taught us anything, it's like we're all wanting to connect to one another still in some way. And so to be able to be that person in your service area that can connect the dots for people and solve problems, that's huge. And we put together what we kind of call it the hit list, or the list of awesome tradespeople in your service area that we can refer for you. We do that every day. You'd be shocked at how many tree service customers call and say, okay, well, now that we got the tree taken care of, do you know anybody that can do lawn care? Or do you know anybody that can paint? Or do you know anybody that can install a pond feature? And those kinds of referrals for your business, massively helpful, because it comes back around to you. I mean, when you send work out, it comes right back around.
And you have to look at it as that tree service company has their own database full of customer, or their customer base. That lawn care company has their own. They may not cross-pollinate at all, but the minute you start connecting with those fellow business owners in your area and refer work, they want to give it back to you. And now all of a sudden your book of business is going crazy because you have access to a bunch of people that never knew that you were a great business to work with. And they've got that referral from somebody that they already trust.
That's awesome.
We also manage all the data on your behalf. So if you're not a technologically super savvy person and it's not your dream job to sit in front of a computer all day, we can really help navigate that through for you. Not only do we capture all the customer information, no matter if they're a great lead or not, we're building a database for you as we go. So out of the 4 to 5 phone calls or 10 phone calls you may get, If only 2 or 4 or 5 of them turn into a great lead, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue to communicate to the ones that you didn't work with. And those people will be customers in the future. So building that database really brings an incredible amount of value to your business. Should you want to sell, should you want to buy out one of your competitors in the future, having that data and that information to be able to recapture and talk to those customers again, massively huge. And that's something that a lot of guys just don't ever capture in a really cohesive way. So we help that as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Besides the Shin-Fu method, what are some other key methodologies that you guys have found helpful?
I think one of my favorite ones is leaning into technology and automations. This is another thing that maybe people are not super comfortable with, but our team really leads the way in understanding how to utilize your computer, utilize your system that you're working on to do outreach to your customers. Many of the CRMs out there have the ability to send text reminders that you're coming. I mean, you would not even believe how many nightmares we've avoided by just sending that text reminder. Okay, we're on the way. And then they call and say, oh, there's something in the driveway, or, oh, we're out of town, or, oh, we forgot, or you can save the contractor so much time and heartache from not going to business that's not necessary if you're proactively communicating to the customer. So we love automations, especially text and email automations, things that go out and remind people about things. Super helpful. And the consumer nowadays is really expecting that from you. They're really wanting that over communication so that they know what to expect.
And looking at technology as a tool. Everybody can relate to the tools that they need for the business, and they don't look at the CRM or some of the other things. We use Slack, we use Trello, tools like that that can really push the business forward and be helpful to them. I know I'm not the most tech savvy guy. And when I look at it, it's like, oh, that looks really overwhelming. But if I have somebody that can use the tool for me, then it just makes my life that much easier. And that's what that's the picture we like to paint is that tool may look scary. You may not know how to use it. We do, and we can take that off your hands.
I love this idea of just like painting this clear picture for these contractors. And I'm just going to recap what you said for the purposes of, keeping it clear in their head. The result, freedom, the database of customers, increasing the value of your business. Like you said, if you wanted to sell, just great referrals coming and going, right? You've got this reputation, your company has this reputation, and it helps maintain your reputation for people coming in because there's somebody kindly answering the phone. And this is a tip, even if they don't use you guys, to make sure you do that. Hey, let's not mistreat people on the phone just because they're not qualified. That's another thing, right?
So true. So true.
And then clear criteria for qualifying. And I think having clear criteria is really good. So I'm sure that you guys work out those kinks with them a little bit. Like some people aren't worth let's get on a second call or get them on the call or whatever. I just want to note something. So we've got this promised land, this beautiful, wonderful promised land. I want to paint the picture of what failure looks like really briefly too. I have seen.
We've seen failure. We've seen it.
Oh,
yeah.
What failure sounds like to me,
Yeah.
I got one and then you go.
Okay.
What failure sounds like
I
to
gotta
me
hear it.
is the contractor that calls us asking to, start working with us. And we ask him, what's the pain point? What's happening? And he says, I'm tired of driving home at 4 or 5 o'clock and walking in, passing my family on my way to some dark corner in my house so I can listen to the 27 voicemails that I missed all day long and find out what fires I have to put out until 9 o'clock, and not being able to eat dinner with my family because I'm just trying to keep on top of it. And that seems like failure to me. And I want to help people that are in that position. And there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah. And I want to paint just another option too, is you don't ever take on that business in the first place because you're so scared of your structure just doesn't hold it. So you slow everything down and you stay small. and you don't go for you don't hire that extra crew because you're so scared that it's going to break everything. Cause you know that it's either have 5 people or 2 people or whatever, or like be crushed, like you're saying with those phone calls and all those projects. So just like staying small could be a failure for some of these guys that they wish they could get bigger, but they're scared.
And our business coach tells us every meeting, growth only happens in discomfort. You've got to get outside your comfort zone to grow. If you decide to stay there, you're never going to grow, and you got to get outside of that.
It's hard to hear sometimes, but it's true.
It is. It's absolutely hard to hear. And somebody else told us one time, they look at it 2 ways. If it's dangerous, you should probably not do it. But if it's scary, you probably should do it.
I like it.
They're
both awesome.
Yeah.
And let me just jump in. One of the other things that I hear all the time, and I like to challenge people a little bit to think a different way or to approach something a different way. And, the one thing that I hear all the time is the lie that customers want to talk to me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the man. My customers want to talk to me. I know what I'm doing, and they don't want to let go and trust that someone else can be a voice for them and let them still be the man, but push that down the road for them. And they get in the way of thinking that they're the only person that can be that voice for their company. I had a gentleman call me and that very thing. He's like, whoa, stop right there. My customers want to talk to me. I'm not going to put anybody else on my phones. And I'm like, so what you're telling me is that your time as a business owner is only worth X number of dollars an hour. That's what a service like ours could cost. I said, I know myself as a business owner, time's worth hundreds or maybe thousands of dollars an hour, depending on what I'm doing. And he just paused. There was about a 10-second pause. I thought he hung up on me. And he's like, I never thought about it like that. And that same guy called me back a couple years later, and he's like, you know what? I was in my office and Mary was handling things, but she was at lunch and I saw my phone ring and I thought, oh, it's an old customer. I'll pick it up. And he's like, hey, Mrs. Jones, how you doing? And she goes, where's Mary? I finally realized I don't need to be the guy.
That's beautiful.
Mary was taking care of her.
That's a beautiful story.
That's what I want people to think. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's something that business owners, we all have to struggle with all the time. That's that tension of like wanting to micromanage everything, holding yourself back as you can, and then seeing stuff is another weird thing that happens where you like get a little sad that you miss some of the detail oriented stuff or whatever. And, but it's better, it's better because you it's not sustainable. You can't be in the muck of everything constantly and still have energy to do the vision, structure, all those things that in managing your people, those types of things. It's hard.
So
I have a question. I have a last question for you. And if you guys want to answer, how many people do you guys have answering the phones?
Right now we have a staff of about 24.
Cool.
And we're growing. So we are hiring fast and furious. In fact, Doug just hired somebody again this morning. So we have lots of work out there.
Awesome.
Really working remotely has been proven over the last year that it is a viable, sustainable, attainable process for homeowners or for home service business owners.
Yeah.
And so we really have grown a lot in 2020, and 2021 looks like it's going to be our best year yet. Yeah. So we got a lot of numbers on the board over there. Yeah. So
I love to hear that. It's super good to hear. And a lot of our home services businesses that we're working with are growing as well. So as you guys help make them successful, you guys will be successful, and certainly just really appreciate you guys chatting with me today.
Hey, awesome. We loved it.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Could you guys give a little bit of where they should go if they want to connect with you?
Absolutely. Our website's probably the very best place to go. We even have a process in our business. So you'll see a lot of different places on the website to connect with us or to take the next step and just follow all those prompts. And so it's www.pinkcollars, and it's PINK like the color, and then CALLERS like calling on the phone.com.
Awesome.
And when you go to that website, there's a button on there that says, let's talk. It comes directly to me. So give me a little information about, I'm qualifying through our website. Give me a little information about the company so we can have an informed discussion. And then I want to get right in front of you and I want to find out how we can help. What are your needs and how we can help make this machine run better.
I love it. I have no doubt that people that make a big decision for their business today to contact you guys will potentially be making their 2021 a lot better.
They will.
I think so.
Because I believe you guys are helping change people's lives for the better. So that's awesome. And appreciate you guys being on the podcast.
Thanks
for having us.
Good to see you.
And the podcast is put on by Hook Agency, hookagency.com. And join us next week for the next episode. Bye.